Hello everyone and welcome to Final IT. Today's video we're going to be looking at configuring a storage space on Windows Server. It is also possible to configure a storage space on a Windows 10 machine if that's what you're using. Storage spaces are useful for combining hard drives into larger volumes as well as adding parity or other forms of backup to them. They're very similar to like RAIDs, or kind of like a software RAID. A good video to watch before this one would be our video on watching Windows Server 2016, which can be found in the description. First thing we'll want to do is make sure our file and storage services rule is installed. So we'll go to manage here inside the server manager, go to add roles and features. Next, roles based or feature based installation, select our server. And in our case, we've already got it. You'll see a square there, but basically storage services is installed. That's what you want. If it's not there, you want to go to checkbox there and go through the install for that. In our case, we already have it, so we don't necessarily need to do that. The other important thing is to make sure your other hard drives are clear. You'll want to go in Disk Manager and then go to your drives and make sure that you've got the two drives that you want to use completely empty with no volumes on them. Go ahead and move the files to another drive and then right click on them and you can delete a volume. Once you make sure that you've had it installed, you go to your file and storage server spaces. We're going to expand that out a bit. And we're going to go to the storage pools tab here. In our bottom right, we'll see that the storage pool or the hard drives that we have available are listed here. And what we'll want to do is we'll want to go up here to the tasks in the upper right and click new storage pool. From that we'll get some prompts now that we'll have to make it through. Next to this one, and then it's going to ask us to name the storage pool itself. So we'll say pool 1 for our test pool here. You can give a description to it if you want to as well. Then you're going to want to hit checkboxes on all the hard drives that you want to use in this pool. So checkboxes for both of our two test hard drives in this case. And the allocation, you can set them to do kind of special things, like hot spare would be a hard drive that would come in to replace a failed hard drive. So there's a few advanced options here, but we're just going to leave those as the default. Hit next. Then it's going to confirm our settings and we can hit create there for it to create that storage pool. Alright, we're going to want to hit close now. We'll see that we now have a storage pool listed up here. It's now for both of those hard drives in capacity, so 40 gigs, because we had two 20 gig physical disks and they're listed in this pool now. We can right click on it to create a new virtual disk on there, which we're going to want to do. So we'll select that storage pool that we're working with. And then it's going to have us go through the virtual disk configuration here. We'll give this our name, so we'll say disk 1 here. We can enable enclosure awareness, which is another type of backup that a storage space offers. We're not going to enable that in our case. And then here's some other storage backup options. They're similar to RAID. So for more details on these, you're going to want to look into the different RAID options that they represent. RAID 0, 1, and 5 are the different RAID options that these are. In our case, we're going to do mirror. So basically, it's just going to put put the data that we're storing it on both of the drives. So we'll end up with half the capacity. So we'll have like a 20 gig disk, virtual disk here, but it'll be backed up in case one of the disks fails. Alright, now for provisioning, you can either have it be a thin or a fixed provisioning of the drive. A thin provisioning means it's only going to actually take space out of the storage pool and give it to this virtual disk as the disk gets filled up. That's what a thin provisioning does. With a fixed provisioning, it's going to go ahead and take all the space that you assign to this disk out of the pool ahead of time. So we're going to leave ours as a fixed in our case. We'll specify, it's going to tell us how much we can use in this kind of format. So with a with the duplication and then the other information that this kind of drive uses. We have 17 gigs that we have available to use, and we can also tell it to just use the maximum size for our virtual disk. We'll hit next, and it'll confirm our settings, and we'll create that. Alright, now that you have your virtual disk, it's going to pop up a wizard to make a virtual volume as well. Now this is finally what we'll be able to use to access this drive. You'll see that we now have the disk showing up in here. It's 17 gigs approximately. And we'll be able to set up a volume on here and then store files on it after that. So that's what this wizard is. We'll hit next here, and it's going to have us just confirm which device we're using, the server and the disk. Then it's going to ask what volume we want to use. We could just choose to use part of it. If we wanted to divide this up into pieces, kind of like this one is, we could do multiple different volumes. We're going to leave one volume for this whole disk though. We can either assign a specific drive letter to it that we want, or we can mount it to a folder. For example, we can add it into an existing folder already in the C drive somewhere if we'd like to. Or for whatever reason we could not assign one. Although generally we're just going to leave the default for this option as well. Here you can pick some specific file settings you need to. So if you need something other than NTFS, or if you need to have a specific allocation unit size, or if you want to name the volume something, you can do all those kinds of things here. But next, and we'll just confirm our settings and hit create. And we can hit close. Once that's done, we'll see that we have our virtual disk here now, and our virtual volume, or our volume, it's not really a virtual volume at that point, on that disk. So that's what this E drive is here. Now, create a document in here if we wanted to. Alright, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments.